Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Science, Planets, and Stellar Rhythms. Erik Roth here, shamanic alchemical astrologer, and I'm here to talk about the upcoming Aquarius solar eclipse on February 17, 2026. So we are officially entering the eclipse season as of February 11th and all the way until about March 15th of 2026. So some people measure it a little bit differently. When the earliest potential eclipse can come in is when the actual season starts. But usually eclipses can only have about two eclipses, but sometimes there is a third eclipse, but not this season. There's only two. But the first one's a doozy. It's happening in the sign of Aquarius, and but it won't be visible for most of the world's population due to it being close to the south pole of the Earth. All right, well, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about like what is the meaning of the annular solar eclipse in Aquarius. We're also going to talk about the end of this video. We'll talk about Venus rising in the evening sky. That's a big deal coming out of the underworld. I think some things that are hidden that have been hidden haven't fully come to the surface yet. And Venus is going to be one of the players that helps humanity recognize what those are. The eclipse is on the North Node. So to be talking about that. And this is, of course, tied into Saturn-Neptune. So I'll be mentioning Saturn-Neptune here and there throughout the video. We, of course, are in eclipse season, and there is an eclipse family, which I typically talk about when I do an eclipse video. And then, of course, there's a 3-year lunation, which is part of what's upcoming here. All right, so the overview of this eclipse. So an annular eclipse is when the moon covers the sun, but because the moon is a little bit farther away from the Earth than on average, it doesn't quite cover all of the sun. So there it leaves a ring around the sun. So annular meaning annual, a ring around. So that's where the meaning of that word comes in. It doesn't mean like it happens every single year in that way. So this eclipse, though, will only be a very small percentage of the population in extreme southern South America, part of South Africa and Madagascar, and Antarctica, of course. So this eclipse is on the 28th degree of Aquarius, where this eclipse takes place. So it shows something of a preview of the upcoming north nodal ingress into the sign of Aquarius that will happen at the end of July. So we're getting a little bit of preview of what things and themes are going to be coming up later, much later this year as well. It will also set the stage for a series of solar eclipses that will get longer in duration until all the way through January 2028. So, which will, be in different parts of the world, but something to look forward to as these eclipse seasons develop and go forward here. So this is a new moon eclipse, and it has the potential of because it involves square here with Uranus, has the potential that like both energetic and an awakening potential of that is radical and explosive. There's also the potential of like breakthroughs. And I want to talk about the Sabian symbol of this as well, but it's at 2849 Aquarius at 4:01 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 17th of February. So for those that most of the West Coast will be asleep at that time, but those on the East Coast will be just waking up, at least be in the middle of the eclipse energy as you're either just awaking or have only been awake for a short time. All right, so that is, and you can see here, you can see the bunch up of all these planets are all in this various stelliums, all happening at once. This is an ongoing thing that's been happening since December. We've been having stelliums, and it's going to go from Aquarius into Pisces and even a bigger one in the sign of Aries as we get into March. All right, so here is what I was talking about. this eclipse is right here. Like here's the center of the eclipse, right? Like you could see, there's the only landmass that's here is Antarctica. So it's a chance, like for those people that are, I know some people are much more adventurous. They'll probably be down there on a boat or in a plane checking this out. There'll be some islands here in the South Indian Ocean and the South Atlantic, which will catch bits and pieces of the eclipse, and in the extreme southern end of South America, as well as southeastern Africa and South Africa and Madagascar will get a piece of the eclipse, but not the whole ring around the sun um, that the moon will be helping to provide for everyone on this particular day. All right, so this is a North Node eclipse. Again, it takes place at 2849 Aquarius. And so this means this eclipse is also about welcoming new ideas, insights, cosmic wisdom, and an awakening to something beyond where we may be rooted in ourselves. It falls just 3 days prior to the to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which may feel like a precursor to to the conjunction that is happening here, coming up on February 20th, but also to upcoming events that are happening also in the summertime, particularly starting in late July of 2026 and going into the second eclipse season of the year in August of 2026. The degree of this eclipse also draws us into the early stage of the metaphorically clearing our eyes to see what may lie in the not too distant future. The old ways are dissolving away, and a new structure wants to be built. So we have something new that wants to emerge here. In fact, the Sabian symbol of this is going to show you a bit more about this. Um, so this is what we have here. This eclipse has the Sabian symbol of a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. I mean, right there, that's one of the most powerful symbols we can think of when it comes to transformation, when it comes to emergence into our new self. So this can be interpreted as humanity's moment to shift our perspective from the chained existence of doing for those in power to being for our own freedom and voice, will, joy, and love. So there's this greater sense of awakening, and even in the beauty of the symbol of that, the grace that happens with a butterfly as it emerges from the chrysalis stage into form, into a whole new life ahead of it. And this symbolism and some of the words, all the words here, except for my interpretation on the bottom, comes from Linda Hill's Sabian Oracle from page 329. So that's a great book. There's other Sabian books out there like that originally come from Mark Edmund Jones, and then Dane Brajar, astrologer, also wrote a book about the Sabian symbols. And then Linda Hill was inspired to write her own book later on down the road, which is the one that I am using in this for this particular video. All right, so where's the eclipse taking place in the sky? So this is a view from Antarctica. So if you were happen to be standing down there in the winter time, wow, you're a brave soul out there in the those sub-freezing temperatures. Here's where the eclipse takes place. Really, it's in the water bear, but it's more between the goatfish and the water bear. You can see these constellations are actually upside down. And this is another reason to know that we are living on a sphere and not a flat plane, is that these constellations, when you're in North America or in Europe or most of Asia, they're going to be right side up or on their side, but not completely upside down. So, this is an example of how this can show up. And obviously you can draw other kinds of symbolism around this, but there's this really interesting part of this is that the transition that we're moving in, some people go, oh, we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And this could even be a little bit of that energy of looking at and experiencing what that could be like for ourselves as the water bear is holding the cosmic waters of knowledge and wisdom and pouring them down onto the earth plane. All right. So there's also no eclipses ever by itself. Means it comes from a family, whether it starts a family or is part of a long series of eclipses. And that eclipse family is called a Saros. And this eclipse Saros is 121. And they happen about every 18 years and 11 days, give or take, depending on if there's a leap year somewhere in there or adds a day or two into that or minuses a day. So it's right around 18 years and 11 days. The last time we had an eclipse in this family was in 2008 at 17 Aquarius. So that was the time we were we had some really powerful changes economically, and we were just in the beginning stages of a world economic recession. At that time, also Neptune, Mercury, and Chiron conjuncted the eclipse, and Saturn was just a little bit past its opposition to Neptune, but was still in a conjunction with sort of that eclipse energy because it was with the south node of the eclipse at that time. So there's some echoes to that time that are coming into this time that we're living in right now, in 2008. So the next one of the same family won't take place again until February 28 of 2044, when the eclipse will be in the sign of Pisces at 9:53 Pisces. So we're right now towards the end of the eclipse family. Typically, eclipse families can last anywhere from about 1200 to close to 1500 years. And this has been ongoing since the year 944 AD or uh, uh, CE, Common Era. And it will go on for a total of 1262 years. So it'll officially end in 2206. And in these Saros, I would encourage everyone, if they want to learn more about it, you could certainly go to NASA's website to learn about eclipses. I'll have the link in the description. It's also posted right here in the slide. But there's a book called Predictive Astrology by Bernadette Brady that's in one of her last chapters talks about the Saros and interpreting eclipses. And so it's a really good one to kind of give you a better idea if you're really curious about what that means for you on a personal level, but also for the world and for others out there in the world. So it's a really good book gives you some really good information around that. And so there's something really special about this eclipse, in that it's an annular eclipse, but also that we're closing in towards the end of this eclipse family, and there's not too many more to go. Maybe about let's see, we've got maybe 8 to 10 more in this family. So like we're nearing the last of it. So this is like we're at the end of the period of where they was at their maximum, because then there's only one more actual annular eclipse, and then it moves into partial eclipse. So after 2044 is the last one that's either total or annular, and then it just moves into more of a partial stage every 18 years after that. So this tells me that something is needing to shift and needing to complete in these coming years. And so obviously in combination with all these other transits that are happening, this is also confirming that we're really in the thick of the soup, but also completing something really important for humanity. And there's also this when you're looking at lunar cycles, particularly new moons, um, you can look at this, what we call 3-year lunation. So you go back 3 years and you can find a very, very similar new moon within a few degrees of that new moon, or go ahead 3 years. So the last one in this family took place back in February 19, 2023 in the sign of Pisces, which was only a 2.5 degree difference from where the new moon eclipse is for the 17th. And at that time, it was conjunct Saturn in Aquarius at 28 degrees, also the same degree as this current eclipse. So there's a connection back in 2023 to this year as well in this eclipse season and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The next one won't happen this is starting a new lunation. So the next one happens in 2029 at 25 Aquarius. So it's usually best to start the lunation when you're doing the new moon and go through like within a year and a half, there's going to be a full moon in this lunation. And then about every 9 months, we have a quarter moon turn. So all of the signs are pointing to a really important eclipse that's coming up. And at the end of this, on that same day, we also have Venus rising in the evening sky. So you can see Venus right here, also in the water bearer. You can see the sun's below the horizon here. So for those of you that have a decent sky that's clear and a good horizon, you can pick up the Venus at minus 3.9 magnitude. It'll be in the sign of Pisces at this time. And so like it starts though a ascent phase of Venus. Like there's a some kind of new energy with the feminine that's coming and rising and claiming her power. So this rising energy and the eclipse happening and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, they're all happening in a small span of time. And then a week later, we have Mercury retrograde in Pisces. So we have Saturn-Neptune eclipse in Aries. We have Venus rising in Pisces, Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and the eclipse in Aquarius. So and Aquarius is just right next to Pisces, like the within a couple degrees. Something really important is going on during this time, and so be prepared for some certainly on a world scale, some world events. But if anyone's got a lot of Pisces in their chart, or even like late degrees Aquarius or early degrees Aries, and anything square opposite that, you're definitely in the thick of all of this as well. Venus is going to continue to brighten slowly over time as the weeks and months go on and rise higher and higher in the sky. But I encourage you all to look at the western horizon just after sunset on the 17th, especially if it's not cloudy. If it's cloudy, obviously you won't be able to see it, but you could certainly be and tune into the energy that Venus brings in. So it's definitely a day that's like worth doing like a ceremony and connecting into the Venusian feminine energy in ourselves as well. So thank you all for being a part of this. I do all my own work here, all my own astrology, and I do personal astrology readings, mentoring classes, and events and astrocartography. I travel around, particularly along the west coast of the U.S. to do events. And you can find me more about me at inspiralnexus.com. And also, I do co-teach some classes with Kaylin Castell at mystaralchemy.com. And you can post any comments or thoughts about the eclipse that you may be experiencing. I'd love to hear more about that from you. So feel free to tune into that or email me at inspiralnexus@gmail or leave a comment on the YouTube channel there. And also tune in for future notifications about an online course that I'm going to be teaching as well later this year. So thank you all for being a part of this. I wish you happy eclipse season and Saturn-Neptune conjunction. All right, everyone. Take care.